Okay. So I am Ashley Wynn Grimes. I am the owner of Cannabis Nursing Solutions. I am also the executive director for CPAA and the author of ACE's Medicine. Somebody told me I have to keep my book with me at all times.
Absolutely.
So anyway, the author of ACE's Medicine is about a little boy who gets bullied for taking his medical cannabis. But I'm a nurse. I've been a nurse for 12 years, and my overall focus is to provide education and consultation services. I've kind of pivoted my business a little bit from about a year ago, where before I was intending to provide one-on-one consultations, and I still can do that, but really I want to support some of my nursing colleagues, and I help provide CEUs to them, and for their own courses. And
so my name is Tracy Lancaster Miller, and I'm the Executive Vice President and founding member of Peak Relief, which is a dispensary in Rockville. And I also wear a second hat as the president of the Maryland Medical Dispensary Association. And that is the trade association in Maryland that represents dispensary interests. So those are kind of my two roles right now.
Well, I'm Gina Dubé. I have developed businesses over the last 30 years. I love farming new opportunities, and cannabis is one of our newest. We started Greenhouse in 2017 with my best friend and backdoor neighbor, Dr. Apgar.
Yeah, and I'm the OBGYN, the board certified OBGYN, who decided to leave the practice of traditional medicine to open up this dispensary with Gina. And we have really set it up to be very, very medical. And I am the medical director, and I train the staff to then train you guys, the patients, and the community. So that is our first focus, is education and doing it the right way.
I guess my journey of how I got involved with cannabis. I grew up in Parkville, and when I was 18, I decided I needed a change of scenery. So I decided to move out to Colorado. And when I moved out to Colorado, the cannabis industry, the medical cannabis industry out there was still fairly young. There had only been dispensaries open for about 1 or 2 years. Before that, it had been 100% caretaker model. So it was really interesting to move out there as dispensaries. The first medical dispensaries were first beginning to open. But I moved out there with ambitions of going to school, and cannabis wasn't really a professional career pathway that I thought was something that I could do at that time. Times have changed a lot since then, but back then it didn't seem like a pathway. So I did kind of what you're told you're supposed to do at that age. And I went to school. I got my undergraduate degree in anthropology. And then I also got a master's degree out there in biological anthropology, studying human evolution, particularly through the fossil record, which was incredibly exciting and very interesting field of study. And when I graduated with my master's, I found that there were not really a lot of jobs open to me at that time. I could have moved to North Dakota or Minnesota or a couple other states that were hiring at that time, but I wanted to stay in Colorado. And so around that time, the medical cannabis industry had been operating for a while. And legalization was quickly on the horizon. So I got into the cannabis industry, working as a bud tender and a trimmer, working for a couple of licenses out there. And I eventually found my niche in cannabis compliance, which I absolutely love. And that's one of the skills that I bring to Peak Relief. I'm the compliance person. And so, yeah, I worked my way up in a couple of companies to compliance manager. And then that really gave me some of the skills that I needed to work with my two business partners, Nate and Warren, where we wrote our application to dispense Peak Relief in Rockville. And then we won the award.
What either of us expected. I was approached very innocently by a patient who wanted to bid for a vertical operation using my name and credentials. And I thought that sounded very intriguing, because clearly Western medicine has been failing us as humans, right? We go to the doctor with a complaint, we expect a pill. And if we don't get a pill, we're kind of irritated at that doctor for not giving us that pill. And we are not really willing to take ownership of our own health and well-being. So preventative medicine is just not necessarily taught in medical school, unfortunately. So I was a little disenchanted with the practice of Western medicine. So when this opportunity came up, I thought, hey, that might be worth pursuing. Gina has been in the venture capital world for years and years and is super smart about funding and things. And so I brought it to her because I trust her opinion.
And so we listened to this gentleman who, let's just say, gave us the real life definition of mansplaining. I asked what the return profile would be for the investment, and he told me I would never understand the math. And so at the close of the conversation, Leslie and I looked at each other and said, we'll just bid it ourselves.
Well, you said that.
I did.
I didn't know that until you called me. But then I had a freak out moment because now I've got this medical degree and I've got all these, university diplomas on my wall. And what does that mean for my career and my diplomas? Like what is going to happen to me as Dr. Apgar? And it was a real leap of faith because I really trusted my friend. Everything she has done has been very successful, and she definitely has a good eye for business. And the things that I'm weak in, she's strong in. And the fact that I've got that medical background and can come at it from a real scientific angle. Gina likes to color in black and in white. And it's a 1 or it's a 0. And that's her engineering brain. And it makes like running a business really, really great with her. But the science of medicine and the practice of medicine and people are not 1s and 0s. And so I'm very comfortable in the shades of gray that make her skin crawl. So it's about surrounding yourself with people that kind of balance you out and are smart in ways that you're not. And that's what makes the team, the dynamic duo of us so fun and so successful. We're really grateful for each other.
Us who identify as women have experienced sexism in our lives, in our professional lives, in our personal lives. And, in business, you experience that a lot. Most of the time, it's just small things like nobody ever shakes my hand first when I get introduced with my business partners. Both my business partners are very, very supportive and have always treated me as an equal. But if I were to approach someone first and introduce myself and then introduce my 2 business partners, their hands are always shaken before my hand. So it's kind of little things like that as you get into business and networking, or, if one of them introduces themselves first and I'm in the middle of them, for some reason, I'm always last with the handshake, little things like that.
I think it's empowering. Not only am I a woman, I'm also a minority woman. So I identify very strongly with being a Black woman in cannabis, and they all 3 are generally the underdog. So I think it's very empowering, and I think I've come to a place where I know what my message is. I found my voice, and I'm very content with saying it anywhere and everywhere that I go. And then I guess the other piece of it, as far as my personal identity, is I'm a nurse, and that's also a very disempowered group of people as well. So, and I think it's really exciting that Maryland Cannabis does have those connections because I know in a lot of states and even amongst my nursing colleagues, it's not that way.
It is difficult. I think running a cannabis business is one of the most difficult businesses I've personally ever run, with the compliance, the legislation. It's the wild, wild west, right? And as a woman, we probably represent somewhere between 3 and 5% of the existing dispensaries in Maryland, which is rather horrific when you think about it. But in fairness, I don't think a lot of women bid because we inherently aren't risk takers. We're the ones that nurture the family. We're the ones that color within the lines. We're the ones that tend to underestimate what we can do. I saw an interesting study that when interviewing, women will always underestimate their capabilities, where males most typically overestimate their capabilities. So I think that a lot of women just didn't take the jump into this because it's such an unknown.
I really have to give a lot of credit to the Women Grow organization. I began to learn how to network at the Women Grow Denver chapter when I was still living out there. And I didn't know what I was doing when I first started doing that. I just kind of come to them and be like, I'm applying in Maryland. And there's so many people that I met who, even if there wasn't anything like in particular they could offer me, what they could offer me was support and encouragement, and really just teaching me how to be a better networker, how to really learn to make connections that, you know, they might not help you right this moment, but maybe they'll help you next year or 2 years from now. And learning to maintain those connections, which is always, I think, a work in progress for myself, of maintaining those connections, especially in COVID, trying to keep in touch with everybody. Carissa Carlemmy comes particularly to mind. She's involved with Spark, Starbuzz, and she's also on the board of directors of the trade association. And she was really, she's one of the main reasons why I got on the board of directors for the trade association. You know, we had been networking with each other for a long time, and she was kind of like, you know, on the board, we're always looking for another person who can help if you're interested. And I was like, absolutely. And then I was on that board for 3 years, and then our founding president stepped down, and I was like, I would like to do this. I would like to, you know, see where I can take the trade association. Another person who I really respect in the cannabis industry, who's also involved with the Dispensary Trade Association, is Venus Hematrandra. She's a founding member of Herbiculture, and she's also the secretary of the Dispensary Association. She's also the co-chair of Project Dream, which is the trade association. It's our diversity, equity, and inclusion subcommittee that we created last year, that's working on internal and external initiatives to foster diversity, equity, and inclusion in the cannabis industry. And Venus is so hardworking. You know, I'm so happy for her. Herbiculture was a single license dispensary, and then in the last round of licensing, they just became vertically integrated. So they're going through the pre-approvals for their processor and the grow. All the while, she's still doing all the things with the trade association in the secretary role and as the chair of Project Dream. So I just have a lot of respect for her.
I look at Shonda Macias down in DC, and she's our hero.
Right.
Yeah.
She had the courage. She is a PhD. She's smart, witty, has started multiple businesses, is successful in
And
DC
you know what else
cannabis.
she is, Gina? She's
She's
nice.
She's very nice.
And she's so sincere. What you see is what you get with her. And we just felt such an instant kinship with her. She was with us at our most vulnerable and our most formative moment as we were about ready to embark into this journey. And I think she really encouraged us to be authentically ourselves and to be the best versions of ourselves that we could be. And that is what we have then brought into our dispensary. So,
and what we want for other women.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
So my wish for the cannabis industry is I would like to see Maryland become kind of what was considered a fully mature marketplace. I think that we're close. We're taking steps in that direction, but we're not quite there yet. You know, the edibles regulations have been written, but we don't have the edibles yet on the marketplace. So, you know, we don't have all of the options available to us. And with that too, I think that, you know, in a fully mature marketplace, what you always see across the country is you see prices continue to decline. And that is not something that we see in Maryland's marketplace yet either. We see increasing prices. And as a single license dispensary owner, you know, this is something that during the pandemic, we really tried to shield our patients from those price increases. And unfortunately, it just gets to the breaking point sometimes where you do have to increase your prices because your vendor has increased your prices. And in order to be able to continue to pay your employees a living wage and pay 100% of their health care and all the other benefits that you do, you have to meet certain margins. And that's been difficult, especially over this last year. You know, the margins that most cannabis, especially the single license dispensaries, are operating at are significantly below what you would see in a normal retail environment. And so I'm just looking, I wish, and I'm looking forward to when we have that fully mature market, where we have all of the products available to our patients, where our patients can expect that the prices are stable or decreasing instead of increasing.
Well, generically, we hope for more research on the federal level and for cannabis to come off of Schedule 1 so that there can be federally funded research as opposed to the anecdotal evidence that we see on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah.
That's probably number one for me.
Yeah, I would like, as the physician in the room, I would really like to have cannabis be available in more reproducible dosing protocols so that patients aren't confused because they come in, they want Blue Dream because they really like Blue Dream, but that doesn't mean anything because Blue Dream is not Blue Dream is not Blue Dream. And I would really love to be able to give somebody medication that they can trust because our average patient is something like 62 years old. And they often have no history with cannabis and they're really nervous about cannabis. And so to be able to give them something that is always going to be what I say it's going to be, and they should have a predictable response from that is super important.
So the book, and that's been my major focus in the more recent months, but the book is about a little boy named Asa. He is a medical cannabis patient, and he moved from out of state to Maryland because we do allow cannabis in the schools, and it touches on that. And another little boy named Rio calls him out and calls him a drug user. And yeah, so him and his school nurse come back and teach the class about it, and they go through what to think about, and they compare it basically to any other child that might take their inhaler or their insulin and all that kind of stuff. And it's childlike, it's very simple language. I do mention terpene and cannabinoid because I think that should be common language that we use, but basically it just lets people know it's individualized medicine in shorter words, and that they're no different. This child is no different. The child is sick and he needs his medicine. So this is what he does on a day-to-day basis. It's very innocent. Even just kind of the way that Asa says, I need to take my medicine today, it's just cute. And my daughter is the one who actually helped me kind of flesh out some of this to make sure that she could understand it. So you can get it anywhere that you buy books. You can get it out of Barnes and Noble. You can get it at Amazon. You can get it at my website. I'll sign it if you buy it from my website, cannabisnursingsolutionsllc.com.
And what I'm really trying to focus on is helping other people now that I'm in a position where I feel like I'm fairly established in my career path. I can always use some people to help me, and I'm always seeking that out. But in particular, now I'm in a position where I need to be doing the same to people who are trying to come up in the cannabis industry. So that's really something that I really try to focus on, especially when I'm networking and things like that.
So Gina and I are really trying to push the needle forward in that way. That's why we developed Blasiva, which is our female focus line, and the response from our females and our males, it's not just for women, and we definitely sell those pretty pink and purple pens to men as well. But the response from our female patients has just been incredibly humbling. I mean, they have tears. I mean, they burst into tears and they say, thank you. Like, nothing has fixed me the way this does. And thank you for listening. And thank you for taking care of me. Thank you for providing something that really works. Thank you for bucking the system, which we do every day, and doing the right thing. So that is our focus moving forward, is to really push that needle in the right direction.
Yeah, if anyone wants to reach out to me, you can reach out to me on my email, which is Tracy with an EY, TRACEY, at peakrelief.com. So it's PEAKERELEAF.com.
There are a lot of lovely spots in Maryland. We are at the corner of Route 29 and Route 108 in Dorsey Hall near Columbia in Ellicott City. We try to be the most efficient curbside dispensary that you can encounter. As a matter of fact, we did over 50,000 transactions in the last 12 months with our goal and attained goal of being under 2 minutes per transaction. So you place your order online. We have over 300 products most times. And if you don't know what you want, give us a call and we'll help you select for you. Our philosophy is a little different. It starts slow, go low. and work up to a dosage that works for you. Our average patient is 62 years old, if you can believe that. And we just see a variety of ages, issues, conditions, and it's our pleasure to deal with our